It is October 23rd, 2025. And today we're going to discuss a verifiable monster built by men in secret on Jekyll Island. This is Inverted World Live. What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us. This is Inverted World Live. I'm your host, Shane Cashman. We are so glad you're here. We're rounding out the week, our last show of this week on this lovely Thursday night, as it's getting crisp and very fall-esque outside. The leaves are falling. There are more skeletons on porches this year than I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if there was a memo sent out in West Virginia, but the same skeleton on every porch. Not my porch. Some of them are even tied to cars. I don't know what's going on, but there's a phenomenon out there of a skeleton invasion. It's quite lovely. We will get to calls in about 30 or so minutes. So if you have a fun, strange, mysterious, dark, unexplainable story about aliens, cryptids, sleep paralysis, you name it, we want to hear about it. Or you can call in and talk about the topic we're going to have with our interview, the wonderful Federal Reserve that I know we all love so very much. But you guys know the link to call in is pinned on the chat on both Rumble and YouTube, and we'll get to your calls in about 30 or so minutes. So I am, of course, joined by Brandon. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir, to you. And what's up to everybody out there? Welcome back. Night 4 of the week. We are going to get into it right now. Weirdness to ensue. Bring it back, Shane.
All right, so I'm really excited to talk about this. Last night I hinted at, this being one of the landmarks of the collapse of America. There's been multiple landmarks in the collapse of this country. I love this country, but this is a huge turn of events that should not have happened, and we need to somehow undo. I've talked about technocracies being a part of that collapse. I've talked about the business plot with FDR being a part of that collapse. Our 100 years of wars that we have not declared. But we're going to take it back to the creation of the Federal Reserve and what that means with the gold standard, how that affects our economy, how they're controlling our lives, and how this has become a monster in the shadows looming over all of us. And it's terrible. So to discuss this, we have the author of 1971. Maybe we pull up that. This is a great cover of this book. I love this cover. This is the author of 1971, I want to make sure I get this exactly right, how all of America's problems can be traced to a singular day in history. And you'll see how the Fed evolves or devolves into what we're dealing with today. And this is the author, Paul Stone. Paul, welcome to the show.
I'm so glad to be here with you both. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. So it's a monster that they've built that has, it's haunting all of us. And I don't think people are, maybe they're aware, but they're not aware of how insane this really is and all the ways it's affected our lives. But let's go back to what I think is part of the beginning. And that would be just because I'm so curious about the connection between people's theories with the Titanic and the creation of the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, well, there's all throughout human history, there's great examples of how good is fighting bad, right? And bad's trying to get over on good. It's all throughout human history. And so you call it conspiracy theory, but sometimes, and I learned from a retired detective who was like in charge of security of this company I worked for long ago. And he was actually in Rampart, Los Angeles. So he saw lots of action. And he said, Paul, it's always the simplest, most plausible reason why something happened. It isn't that the stars all aligned and Mars was in retrograde and then all these weird events occurred. There is some, obviously, credibility to planetary forces affecting our lives here on Earth. But for crimes or man-made events that seem like crimes, it's always the simplest, most plausible reason for why something happened, even if it's hard to believe. Obama did a great job of proving from the podium, just tell gigantic lies and everyone will believe it's true, because who the hell would come up with such an audacious thing to say from the podium, right? So you've got this panic back in 1907 that America's really starting to come into its own. It's obviously before the Roaring '20s. It's before the stock market crash in '29. And there's this giant painful panic in America in 1907. It causes a great deal of financial strife. And people want to engineer. They start to think, can we engineer out these pains? And then jumping back to the Titanic, right? So on the Titanic are many, assumedly, of the strongest protesters against creating a committee that would eventually become the Federal Reserve. They're on this Titanic, right? JP Morgan owns the company that has built both the Titanic and its sister ship.
Right.
And he's, we can get into this more, right? But this is teeing up this idea of good versus evil, finding another place on the stage of Earth where they're going to do battle. And it's such a huge concept for the general population to get its mind around.
Yeah.
They assume it's conspiracy theory. I think it's actually true.
I mean, I entertain it. I mean, people listening to the show know I'll entertain that. But I mean, there were very powerful people on the Titanic. Astor was one of them. Guggenheim. Guggenheim was also, I believe, funding a lot of Nikola Tesla stuff at the time. And that the theory goes that they were opposing this creation of a consolidated federal banking system. Federal.
So they're sailing to America.
Right.
To reject and lobby against what started in 1910 with the creature. There's a great book about the creature called The Creature from Jekyll Island. Mm-hmm. Jekyll Island at the time was a very high-end resort island off the coast of Georgia. JP Morgan was a member. Many of the folks that met there, even though JP Morgan assumed it's reported that he didn't attend, but maybe unofficially he was there, but he certainly put the meeting together, it's believed. And this is a group of men that literally see an opportunity, guys disguised behind let's try to remove financial ailment from our existence, uncertainty, calamity, things falling off a cliff, essentially. Let's go behind that and make a move for total control of American finance. And there were some good reasons to do that. Like there's always some good with the bad and always some bad with the good.
And what's crazy is though, that just to tie the theory of the Titanic now to Jekyll Island, and you did it with JP Morgan's name. JP Morgan was supposed to be on the Titanic. And he didn't go,
On the last day.
On the last day.
He just doesn't show up.
It's crazy.
So if it had been pre-announced, right? So if you have the pursuers on the Titanic to show up in New York and fight the creation of the Federal Reserve. That's what we're talking about, the Federal Reserve. The first time in the most organized and powerful way, man is setting itself up to literally engineer the financial weather. They're going to create oxygen, financial oxygen at will in their little schemes, never ever having done any of this before. Not poring over a blueprint that someone had discovered in an Egyptian pyramid in some king's tomb that was left by some superior race behind, 50,000 years ago when some superior race like left Earth for some other better place, right? And they left this blueprint behind on how to wildly, fundamentally, in a sound way, engineer finances on the planet for humanity to no longer, be alleviated from feeling financial pain that suddenly comes out of the blue that man has been victim to for all of the ages we've been doing. Of course.
And it's always the people who think they're the smartest, this elite group of people throughout the ages, where it's happening right now. I also alluded to the business plot during FDR's second year in office when DuPont and JP Morgan, I think it was the business, JP Morgan tried to overthrow FDR with Smedley Butler, but they always think they know better, and they like to sell it with the idea of it's going to be good for you. Trust us.
Right. And so if JP Morgan announces that he's not going to make the trip to New York on his own, extreme creation, the Titanic, this incredible vessel that can't be, cannot be sunk. If he pre-announced that he wasn't going, the other gentlemen that were on Astor and Guggenheim probably also wouldn't have gone.
For sure.
They may have sought him out and thought, wow, he's trying to pull a fast one, and maybe sought him out and maybe even gone a bit more public with things. They may have been made to be a bit more desperate about their cause, but they were literally fighting, just like the Magna Carta was the first time a document had been signed that started to grant rights to the commoners.
Yeah.
Just understand, until just maybe a couple hundred years ago, 300 years ago or so, commoners had extraordinarily limited rights.
Yep.
Those were preserved for the nobility. And this is the same thing where the nobility's making, lots of gains had been made by common folk in the hundreds of years from the monarchies leading up to this day in 1912, which is just before the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913, where the Titanic sinks. That this is a group, assumedly, right? None of us were on the ship. We couldn't talk to Astor or Guggenheim, but they seem intent on not only enjoying this incredible voyage, which would have cost a lot of money, and a lot of the world's elites were on this ship at the time, but they're sailing to New York to literally do battle against J.P. Morgan and his group of, his guys representing that they want to snatch back all the gains we've been making for commoners to have an equal footing in the financial landscape.
It was an attack. It was an attack on
Yes.
Americans. And, I can't help but think of something like 9/11. We'll put all the theories aside, and I have many, but you can't deny the fact that it happened. A lot of people did die. And then the government took advantage of the tragedy and weaponized it against us. And you can also talk about people, exactly what I was thinking. He's also talk about people who were very elite, who were supposed to be on some of those planes. I can't help but think of those things. I don't believe in coincidences. I'm thinking of a Peter Thiel character who made Palantir, which is part of the Patriot Act eventually. But, these things seem to repeat themselves, these patterns. But so now Jekyll Island happens. They meet in secret. J.P. Morgan owns a lot that, I think, or funds a lot of that property, the club at least. He may or may not be there. For those who don't know what the Fed really is, we hear it a lot. Can you give us like a rundown on what that is and what it does?
So the Federal Reserve, first of all, and many have been saying this lately, I've been saying it for years now, is that just to draw a distinction that the Federal Reserve is about as federal as Federal Express.
Exactly. It's scary.
Right? So there's one. So there you go, whoa, well then, why would they name it that if it's not a federal agency? Oh, to make it seem to you as if it is a federal agency, all the common folk, right? Because we're all busy doing our stuff, and occasionally we catch sound bites and headlines, and so we just our mind will just say, oh, well, this must be what that is, because we think the way we think. Why would anyone how could anyone, there's a constitution, how could they pull the wool over our eyes in such a blatant fashion?
Right.
How could we be lied to by the people we elected? And, there is constitutional law that does say what governs banks, and how, when Hamilton was a proponent for a bit more of an organized banking system to try to give a bit more consistency to our financial strength and predictability out into the future. There were many even against creating the banking system. But when you look at the failures of Medici and the European banks, they had all grown to this place where they had gotten as big as they were going to get, and many were in fear. And J.P. Morgan being someone who literally lent the federal government $20 million at one point, I forget what time period that was in, when they were broke.
Yeah.
They were literally broke, and J.P. Morgan lent $20 million to the government to give them funding so they could continue doing whatever it was they were doing. It's how they spent our money recklessly.
All the time.
Not as bad then as they do today. So the meeting takes place in 1910. It wasn't even made public until the 30s.
That's right.
The Titanic is sailing in 1912 to New York with people on it that are literally at the end of their rope, and now something reached a culmination point where the Federal Reserve is going to be created unless they protest that, and the ship sinks. J.P. Morgan was supposed to be on that ship. He owned the company White
Line.
That created it and its sister ship. I think it was called the Olympus. It sinks in 1912. In 1913, the Federal Reserve is created. Up until at that point, the dollar, just for a measurement, involved with gold, backed by gold, was always worth 100 cents. So if you took a dollar out of your pocket and threw it on the ground real hard, you'd get 100 pennies out of it.
Right.
In 1913 was the first time the dollar wasn't worth 100 cents anymore. There were already engineering ways to slip, financing, creation of the dollar out into the world, dollars that shouldn't be there, starting to cause troubles for us. Eventually that leads to the excess in capital that can cause the speculation to go wild in 1929.
And it's just run by bankers, right? It's like you
Yes.
said, like it has nothing to do with our government, really.
Right. You're right. I got off point.
No,
The
it's
Federal
okay.
Reserve, if many of us have maybe seen, Game of Thrones,
Yep.
it's literally like the Iron Bank. It's kind of this independent thing that has its member banks, and there's many of those in the United States, 13. Each has their own region, the Atlanta Fed, the New York Fed, Minneapolis, San Francisco, Dallas. And they have little jobs that they do in looking over the economy and what's going on in the United States. But the creation of it is literally, in a way, outside of the United States. It's outside of the government. The government uses its money. So it creates the dollar, or took possession of managing and working with its creation, which became the dollar. So thought of it on an island, it ships dollars in and out of America, where we are.
Right. I mean, how can this go on for so long? Like, was there a protest, do you know of people when this eventually was announced? Were there people in the government that you know of that were opposed, or did it just kind of happen and then we just stuck with it? No one did anything.
There were many in the government that opposed it. And we can regurgitate all the names. It won't mean so much as just to stay focused, because it's not necessarily always about the culprits, right? We can get into that, the conspiracy theory. These people were sent, lots of people were sent to their grave on that ship that was sank intentionally to literally keep. When you think about, the hundreds of billions of dollars at the time back then, massive, massive amounts of money, be hundreds of trillions of dollars today, in the dream state of these folks that want to start the Federal Reserve and take over control of and management of America's finances, and eventually the people that live here. And then eventually the world, when it earns reserve currency status. They can't let that go. Like, there's no human capability to protest the creation of something like that. So we lost.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, this is kind of a bit of a tangent, but you just reminded me of something that Elon talked about when he was doing Doge, which kind of sounds like the Fed with made up money, right? Is those computers that were printing money that he didn't know, like, what they were. They were just fake money, just more fake money, and he's like, this is insane. And that, again, something none of us knew about. Who knows how long that was happening, but, and I'm sure it's still happening.
Yeah. I mean, just to understand what our economy needs today, what our country actually needs today, just picture Niagara Falls, just $100 bills, just racing into our economy from Canada, right? From outside of the country. When the Federal Reserve and the government do their thing, where the government will write a bond and the Federal Reserve issues money off of that. That is literally foreign money pouring into our system, diluting the dollars that you and I have in our bank accounts.
Yeah.
It is literally murdering the currency that we work for, that our paychecks are done in. And it causes the cost of living to constantly float higher. And they changed the calculations. This is a few decades after the time period we're talking about. We can get into that later, but we can really start to look at the evil of what the Federal Reserve became, because it certainly isn't the chaperones of American individuals for financial security and predictability. It was set up by an entity that is there to literally dominate and control. That's what banks do. We don't have to hate them for what they're all about. We just have to know for what they're all about. And that's what they're all about.
Yep. Yeah.
And when you finally get into reckless money that can be created out of thin air, then there's also no consequences to any reckless decisions made from the creation of money out of thin air.
So when I hear you talk about it, something I talk about in this show quite a bit is this false reality that news media, social media, influencers, pundits are all creating, right? That's kind of layered on top of actual reality. And what you're talking about almost now makes me think of that it's creating the fake currency for the fake reality. And we're like kind of drowning beneath all of this. When you and I were talking earlier about this idea of man remaking like this world, like kind of robbing it from God. Can you expand on that idea? I think it's an incredible idea.
I think that, I think there's always two opposing elements in practically anything that has to do with a human being. So if we thought humans left to their own devices are going to create, they're going to be productive, they're going to be social, we're pack animals, if you will, we're habitual.
Right.
Right. And so anything that irritates us, that sparks our creative juices, and it's why we moved out of caves and into log cabins. Why we moved out of log cabins into homes made out of brick, and you know, how we discovered electricity. Talk about Nikola Tesla. What a tragedy and a government theft that was, right?
Yep,
So he's the one who came up with alternating current. Westinghouse came up with direct current. Direct current will set your house on fire.
Exactly.
And so when the government gave its contract, it gave it to its buddy. When that blew up and he created his power plant, the first one, I think it was in Ohio, it didn't work. Direct current doesn't work. It's not stable. And they literally just stole Nikola Tesla's capabilities and technology and supplanted that. And Westinghouse is the one we hear about today when it comes to electricity. And Nikola Tesla, thank God Elon Musk paid homage to his creation and his brilliance by naming his car company after that. But he died broke. He died broke.
Terrible.
So when we look at man's creation drive, man and women, to drive to create, we want, and we're going to naturally trip over the things that annoy us and irritate us and try to resolve those away. And in that creation, we evolve. But there's times certainly where we go off the rails, where man gets greedy, man and women gets greedy. I think the creation of the Fed is what started and set the stage for what has come since in the last, 110 years, 112 years. Man's attempt to literally remake the world of God without God in it. That's what I think. And that's what I see. And that's why I wrote my book.
Yeah, and so let's get to that. But I mean, that kind of what you're saying fits so well with what Nietzsche said about God is dead. You know, people kind of misconstrue that. They think he's saying God died. He's saying that in society, God has been removed by the people. So there's he's vacant now within the souls of the people. And then what you're talking about is what the world that they're creating with the lack of God in their heart, right? So let's talk about, speaking of crazy people, old Richard Nixon, and your book and what you're talking about. What made you write this book, and what are we looking at?
It's my own invention, right? And it's coming from pain, right? I started looking at gold a long time ago, and in that industry, someone very wise said to me that gold is truth in money, truth. And there's a lot to unpack with that comment and what Nixon did. But the reason I wrote the book is it started with questions. And I firmly believe that questions mean more than the answers. We will find the answers if we don't know, but if we aren't starting off with great questions, where are we headed? Like, where are we going? What's the new thing we're going to figure out next, right? So the questions mean so much. And you sit here and you go, all right, so humanity is either making inferior copies of itself in the womb, and just society is just less and less capable of dealing with the challenges that come with it, or in its DNA is literally dealing with things it has never faced before. Because when we look at symptoms, which is most of what people do these days, they look at the symptoms, they argue about them, they never go to the source. You got to go to the source, right? If I break my elbow, I can't rub Bengay on it or Aspirin, right? I got to go to where you got to treat the break, the actual injury, the source of the pain. So when I look at a society that wants to, and I lived a certain way where I couldn't deal with the weather in my own head, and I turned to substances, right? Because I needed relief. It's a natural thing. I remember the first time I ever heard someone give me permission to let free of the guilt of treating the pain between my ears with substances, that's just the mind at the last house on the block looking for how it might find relief. Why is a society en masse anesthetizing itself? It's way more than partying and doing a couple bumps on New Year's Eve, right? This is like all around the world. And so you look back to the Egyptians to now and say, well, where were societies just anesthetizing themselves at all times? Like, how did humankind lose sight of the magic of us floating on a planet, right, around this humongous fireball in the sky? Like, if you Google astronaut moon buggy, right, and we laugh, we're like, look at that goofball. He's in his big suits, driving a golf cart on the moon. Like, why'd they ship one up there? And then you think that's so weird. Just realize the next time you get in your vehicle, that's what you're doing. You're driving a moon buggy on a planet. And
We're
how
astronauts.
did humanity lose sight of the magic of what it actually is?
Yeah.
It's under distress. It's under pain. It's in a miserable state. And it's just one after another. It just says, I got to find relief. Somehow there's got to be relief. Obviously, alcohol, tobacco, nicotine, great gateways to other things. There's certainly heavier versions of that stuff, heroin, morphine, fentanyl. And so I see that as a symptom of a miserable society. What would have caused society to leave the trajectory it had been on for thousands of years? That's the question I started asking. And you look at, and there's so much to the book, right? Racism, death of the American family, the war on drugs. Like, what country ever had to create a war against its own people for finding relief, right? When women are marching in front of Reagan wanting equal rights and equal pay, his question shouldn't have been, how do we get them that? His question should have been, why are all these women pouring into the workforce?
Right. Yeah, because they were attacking society and they were attacking families. I mean, if you're talking about the 60s and, LBJ in particular, what he was planning on doing and incentivizing fatherlessness within the black community. I mean, they definitely, admittedly, were trying to rip apart families and then make them financially like married to the government. Yeah. And then drugs come in.
There's so many parts to that, and that's covered in the book. That's one of the examples, right? So we start to think, so now we just need to quickly think that money is energy. Stop thinking of it as some physical thing you leave at a cash register or swipe your plastic. Think of it as energy, right? We work to store up the energy, just like you plug in your phone and the battery needs juice put back in it, right? It's the exact same thing. So money's energy, it makes things happen. If the money supply, the energy supply, overpowers the humanitarian grid, it causes then that whatever it's affecting to move and shift out of alignment with how things actually are and how things actually work. And we can give some monetary measurements on just the wide disparity that we are currently elevated to in our minds about what we think money's really all about versus where we're really at.
Right.
We just can't feel it right now. So when you think about what Nixon did, is for the first time in human existence, a government had created its own financial power supply. It used to live off scraps from the economy. Let's call it 20-30% of the economy's fortunes went to the government each year. So it's, a third smaller, a fifth smaller, right, than our economy. It could never like be the force driving the economy. Right. It's just part of it. It's just getting leftovers like your dog gets at the dinner table.
Right.
Suddenly the government can now have all the money it wants. And the government, and this is multifaceted, right? So governments are in charge of problem solving for their society, for their population, their country, their locale, whatever government you're talking about. They're like the center of the bike wheel. And we all come down on these spokes and tell them what our problems are. And they hear all these different problems. They sit there at the desk and, oh my God, how do we solve these? In the old days, they would put committees together, deal with the people out here that have been, they might have experience dealing with these problems before, like the private sector, and see if there was something that could be done. And if there was, they could shave some money off other budgets and cough up the money to fund this solution, right? But it would have been engineered. It wasn't just literally throwing money at stuff. So why is it every reserve currency country that came and went? Why is it every country's printing money today? Why is it that there is no population throwing parades down the capital streets once a year for how grateful they are at the great job their government's doing? It's because the mind that is attracted to government is a non-dynamic mind. It is literally the mind that cannot solve problems. It is running from them. It is looking for a job that can't be taken away, pay that increases constantly at a steady state, and benefits that also can't be taken away. We can all remember how Congress exempted themselves from the Obamacare Act. So at the helm of problem solving, now funded with an unlimited amount of money, in their opinion, they are running rampant around the planet, destroying what humanity used to be, looking at the symptoms of families being torn apart, our own factories where we used to make stuff was shipped overseas, and the war on drugs, and then racism.
Yeah, it's funding everything. I mean, if you think about the timeline that you just laid out with the Fed and everything, Woodrow Wilson, right, president at the time, I think one of the worst presidents we've had, maybe ever. Kind of like Joe Biden, because he was a bit incapacitated in the end. But like it funded the wars. It's like, you think of the military industrial complex. It's like they just created their own machine to fund stuff. They can rob us, but also they can just print stuff. And that's why we just have infinite forever wars and funding. You can send rockets here, rockets there. We could wars on terrorism, like these, like what you're saying. It's like abstract wars, war on terror, war on drugs. What does that mean? We're seeing different versions of that now. We saw different versions of it in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And it's really scary stuff. When it comes to like Nixon, what did he do? Did he do something to tweak all that at the time?
So he covered up a lie. We just got to look back just a decade and a half or so, and we're at the end of World War II. Europe's in ashes. They need, investment. They need a capitalization spark. They've got a ton of gold. They just don't, their currencies are dead, right? So they ship all their gold to New York, and we issue a ton of correctly appropriated money off the amount of ounces that just ended up stateside.
Right.
And we help finance Europe to come out of the ashes from World War II. And, I always say that government seems to be led by cowardice, right? Because they look at Stalin and they check him out, and they obviously read him and go, man, this guy's going to be a problem. He's going to be trouble.
Right.
We should take him out, right? We should have the suits running the country, not the admirals and the generals. Left up to them, they probably would have taken him out. There never would have been a Korea, a Vietnam, and a Cambodia. There wouldn't have been a lot of stuff, right? A lot of the European empires peeled back to the home base. England gave up a lot of ground. France willingly gave up Cambodia, Korea, Vietnam. When they left these countries prey to spreading of communism. And then we have to go spend a ton of money, but it's because we had the money, the ability to print it off of what Europe had given us in the way of gold, that we start cheating because the bills are bigger than the government can plan for. Right. And so in 1960, interest rates are 1%. So you don't have any inflation, right? And they do have rates low because they're trying to let dollars fly. We want to rebuild. Obviously, we spent a lot of years making bullets and tanks, and we need to get back to the housekeeping here in America. Europe's trying to rebuild. In 1965, interest rates are 5%. And I don't want anyone to start thinking, oh, he's going to go into an econ lesson. No, just look at the measurables, right? 1%, no inflation, 5%, lots of inflation. A 500% increase in the cost of borrowing the dollar, which is the Federal Reserve jumping on the brakes with both feet. Like they're, oh my God, and so Europe, because the number one thing our government exports is inflation around the world. And Europe's saying, man, you guys are creating inflation. Now you're causing everything, all the prices to increase for us here, and we're trying to rebuild. We want our gold back. So when Nixon, this starts before Nixon, but when Nixon comes in, he's now faced with whatever we would call out of Washington, a scandal. But it's really just an opportunity for people that volunteered for that position of leadership to tell the damn truth. And he doesn't want to tell the truth. Maybe he does, but the advisors he listens to, he makes the decision to cover it up. And he says, all right, F you, Europe. We're just not going to deal with gold anymore. Gold has nothing to do with the dollar anymore. Because if they wanted their gold back, it would have caused them to come clean and tell the truth. It probably would have caused some disruption in finances and things financial with the dollar-based world. We got to get through it, right? And the reason they want to create the Federal Reserve is because every 15 years we're dealing with some financial catastrophe. Things go south. Jobs are lost. There's calamity, troubles, right? Politicians, the Achilles heel to the design of democracy is politicians being elected. They want to be reelected.
Exactly.
So they don't want to come to the podium and tell us the truth. They're cowards, I think, in character. I don't say they're bad people, but these aren't the Bravehearts of the world, right? This isn't William Wallace. They don't come to us and tell us the truth. They want to keep their damn jobs. They want to keep their hands on power. Yep. So they lie, and we suffer from it. And now's the time we really have to wake up. Yeah. But the reason I wrote the book, and the reason it's called 1971, is that's the year Nixon decided to literally end financial reality. It had literally ended then, and 54 years later, we're seeing the evidence of this disreality we live in, which, you guys are young. Yep. So you're looking at home prices, you're thinking about your future.
Oh, it's crazy.
Imagine 15, 20-year-olds today thinking, how are they ever going to take 2-week vacations to Aspen? Are they ever going to buy a home? What are they going to do when they have 2 or 3 kids? Crazy? Are you crazy?
That's what's scary is,
snuffing out. We're at the point now where the human experience is being snuffed out.
Totally agree. I mean, what you're saying, again, I'm going to say like the stuff I'm always thinking about is kind of the same thing, but not in terms of the Fed, but how now I'm seeing how they come together more because the younger crowd, and it's my generation too, everyone's suffering. Everyone's suffering. Everything's too expensive. People are like, they can't afford a house. And what's making them, I think a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them are feeling complacent about it because it feels like you can't get out of that hole. And they also have digital identities now, thanks to social media, where that world is more important to them than the outside world. So I think that's also by design, right? It's the same way the Fed is created by design to control you. Now they've created this alternate reality in the digital world to control you. And then they can just run free, right? All these, the people at the top of the pyramid. It's really scary. What is in your mind, like, how do we, this phrase, end the Fed, everyone hears it a lot. Like, do you have any idea of like what that would even look like? Like, is it a ripping off the Band-Aid situation in your mind, or?
End the Fed?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, end the Fed. How? Like how? Like, so Congress passes law. Connections.
Right.
Presiding over financial implosion. So that's where we start to recognize, it's a little, I want to spend a little bit more time on the depth of these issues, but to answer your question, if we're starting to look for a solution, Mother Nature will bring it about, life with a capital L, the way it actually works. And I want to give you a measurement to try to illustrate what this is. Mother Nature will bring about the collapse. So if, let's say the Fed was in charge of creating oxygen on the planet, like they took it away from Earth itself and they're somehow creating oxygen. Imagine the power play that would be, right? It's the same thing with financial oxygen. It's actually a power play. And they aren't doing a good job of it. And the oxygen's getting worse and worse. And people are struggling and suffering to be able to function like they used to. Like, we're all living at 10,000 feet, right? We really struggle to live our normal lives because the oxygen's much thinner at that level. And so, you start to see society suffer and struggle in ways that it never did before. To end the Fed would just cause this collapse of how the monetary system works, because we're way out on this limb now. Right. And if you just cut that limb off, we fall with it. Where Mother Nature brings about a solution is that they're still burning a resource. So yes, paper is probably unlimited. Just mow the entire Amazon down. You could do that probably for another 30, 40 years, and you have all the paper you want. And trees do grow back. The Amazon doesn't do so great, but they do, where they actually farm trees for paper, in Canada mostly, for North American supply anyway. And so if you start to think that this resource of oxygen is depleting, the quality of it's depleting, humanity is suffering, financial oxygen, they're still using a resource called the dollar, right? 1912, dollar's worth 100 cents. 1913, not so much. The year 2000, Nixon does what he does in 71. In the year 2000, the dollar's worth 56 cents. Today, it's worth 3.
That's insane.
So you are literally, like, if you've been reaching over your shoulder and pulling these giant dollar logs and throwing them on our economic fire, and the fire's just burning like crazy, and everything's overheated, and humanity's moving faster than the speed of life itself. That's the ultimate cause of what Nixon had on humanity. It's literally completely out of alignment with how life actually works. That's why the virtual would be more meaningful to a human being than a great character. Right? We're too distracted, too stressed, and too depressed, and visionless about the future for the new crops of humans to be like in a baton race, reaching forward for the baton we're handing back to them. There is no baton anymore. There's nothing to hand off to them. It's ruined. And so at some point, the resource they're using to electrify the financial world is empty.
Right.
It's gone. And so everything does collapse. And here's a quick measurement. So in the year 2000, debt is $4 trillion. Today it's $38 trillion. The dollar's worth 56 cents. Today it's worth 3. That just shows you that man in his lunacy, trying to remake the world without God in it and solve all the ailments, governments hear about all the time. And to keep their jobs, they think they have to solve these problems, but they're not the dynamic mind that actually solves problems. That's all of us out here in the financial weather, out here in private practice. The public goes there for jobs that can never be taken away, and they're never even held really accountable for doing a bad job.
Right.
There's no checks and balances there. And they're in charge of money creation. And that's where humanity suffers. So it ends when it ends. There is no ending the Fed. No one's going to legislate that. But where we can wake up right now is recognize that life is happening and always will be happening where our feet are. and live in the moment and start to take back our own personal power and make choices and find the Christopher Columbus, the Lewis and Clark inside of us and start charting a new course. Because today it's literally just like the Europeans that hopped on wooden ships sailing across the Atlantic. We have to relocate ourselves to a place in the country, places like Tennessee, for example, that has an incredible income to cost of living ratio. It's number one in the country, Tennessee. And you got three big city metropolitan areas to pick from, right? You got Knoxville, Nashville, and Memphis.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thinking we have to do. None of this changes because we vote twice every 2 years. Nothing.
I agree.
There's no one running on restoration. It's running on the same old BS called change.
Totally agree.
That they can never deliver on.
I totally agree.
Trump's making a hell of an effort, but
I hope they make a better effort, honestly, because the people are suffering, you know, and it's really brutal out there. And I also understand, like, I don't like the Fed, but I understand now that they've baked it so deeply into the DNA of the country. You rip it out, it's insanity. You know, I've listened to Ron Paul talk about ending the Fed. He has more of like not a ripping the Band-Aid off type situation, but like it's got to happen like bit by bit almost. I don't even understand how that would work, honestly, because it's so deeply ingrained.
If you wanted to make a move towards that, right, we got to bring about some financial pain. One more, right? So since 2010, in 2010, debt was $10 trillion.
Oh, wow.
Today, so just since 2010, $27 trillion have been created and issued into the economy. Niagara Falls is pouring into the economy every day. Right. Artificial money, money that's not even real. It's not real. Paper is never going to be money. Gold and silver is money. Chicken is chicken. Steak is steak, right? Asparagus is asparagus. You're never going to get a 3D printer and print your dinners like you'd see on some Star Trek episode where you push a button and out comes.
They're going to try.
Because it isn't going to be the meal you grew up eating, right? You're not going to eat that crap.
Yep.
So it's as artificial as a printed chicken dinner. And, damn.
Ending like with ending this stuff, like, and doing it bit by bit. Like, I think they want us to just have the fake stuff, right? Like, isn't that their goal?
That's what they come up. So that's their best thing. So I'm sorry, I got choked up for a minute because I'm just thinking about this. 70% of our country said at the exit polls from the election that life in America sucks.
Yeah.
They said that. There are so many people juggling what bill to pay late this month. There's 10 million kids living in poverty. 10 million. That would fill like every football stadium in America, college and pro, many, many times over. Like you'd usher them in, every seat's taken, snap a picture of misery, usher them out, replace everyone again. You could do that 3 or 4 times. That's just 10 million kids living in poverty.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve and the government and its leadership is creating a financial famine. They're literally drowning you in 2 inches of water. And so to stand up to that, to start to break the system and the stupid decision-making our government has made for 3 or 4 decades now, is to do something like this. You would literally say to all American companies who have participated in this, you would say to them, you have 1 year to no longer make a damn thing outside of this country that you are going to sell here. And I don't care what carnage it brings about. I don't care because you can't continue down this road of lying.
I'm with you.
You can't add a solution into a lie that is a half truth. It won't solve the problem.
I'm with you on that.
That's something that you could do to start actual change, where Americans start to take the situation back. We start to get back into the problem-solving business and take it away from the government.
I'm with you on that. And that's kind of how I feel about something like if we, going to thinking about something like the Epstein files. I'll say just release everything. I don't want to see, don't release the child porn. Obviously, no one needs that. We don't need to put that out there. But let's just release everything, and I'll get pushback from people who are, on the right saying, well, you don't want to hurt innocent people. I'm like, honestly, we have to just destroy whatever that part of the world is right now. That's blackmailing, human trafficking, child trafficking. They can sort it out in the end because this has gone on too long.
Same thing as storming the beaches of Normandy, man. They plan to lose 60% of the men that were going to storm Normandy. 60%.
That's crazy.
That's the mindset that makes things great.
Right.
It is always, in so many of our, deity type examples, whatever religion you subscribe to, sacrifice is part of it. Like, there's no greater gift to be able to lay down your life for people. Like, the reason Cuba which is one hell of a piece of property on the planet, is communist, is there just aren't enough people willing to lay down their lives today so that the ones coming up behind them would be free.
Right.
That's all it takes. And so that is an ethic. That's not situational. So in your example, releasing the Epstein files, some people might be injured. Okay, but we have to stop the injury of so many youngsters who are just being sold as property.
That's it.
And treated like a sex toy.
It's disgusting.
It's horrific.
No, it's got to happen.
So the cowardice that creeps from Washington out permeating our society is causing things like that to be thought of as correct. When what's correct is storming the beaches of Normandy. 60% of our young boys may end up catching a bullet when those ship doors open up. But we need to beat and exterminate Hitler.
Right. And I see it as we are so shackled to the material world, which is right now the fake currency you're talking about, which is completely antithetical to what human nature should be, where you do sacrifice yourself, for your family, your friends, your kids. But people are so in love with their digital identities, with the material world, with all the fake stuff around us, whether it's entertainment or their fake dollars. It's tough for people to have that type of sense, which has bred cowardice and bred this like false sense of their own importance, really, because they think they actually weigh their wealth in likes, which is a problem.
Hey man, for a long time I used to judge my insides by your outsides, and you guys always won, and I was garbage, right? This is where I can relate to the youth. And reading the book, like the youngsters that have read it, anyone that's in their teens, 20s, they all say this needs to be taught in school. This awareness needs to be provided to everyone. This is not an econ book, and it's not about me. It's about the message. I'm just blessed to have been able to put it all together. I'm literally telling you that the reason humanity suffers is at the decision-making of the government. And the chief one of all is that they will pay their bills with money they don't have, causing you not to be able to pay yours. So back to 2010 real quick. Commodity prices, which everything you're looking at, wherever you are watching this, is commodities. Right? Plastic came from oil, and diesel was burned to get it to you. So if you think about the electrification of factories that make stuff, coal, right? Everything comes from a commodity. Everything you're dealing with is a commodity, one way or another. Commodity prices, so government debt again is 10 trillion. Today it's 38. Commodity prices since 2010 are up 400%. And you can all say, who cares? I don't care. But wages are up 80%.
Right.
That's evil.
Right.
That is absolute evil. You are literally executing the pursuit of happiness isn't possible anymore. When you say people idolize money, no, they just idolize finally making enough, finding a way to make enough to have the autonomy their predecessors had, where their earnings outweighed their bills, outgrew their bills. Back on the gold standard for all the years before 1971, your wages grew a lot faster than the cost of living increases. So by the time you're 40, you could have a lake cabin. You could, my God, you probably had 6 months or a year's worth of savings where if you broke your leg and couldn't go to work, you'd be good to go. That's the peace of mind we have to work to acquire, but it generally comes naturally, even if you just went to high school. Most of the millionaires in this country have high school degrees, drive a Ford F-150, and made their money in real estate.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take a college degree, but these days you're like, oh my God, you're not going to make squat coming out of high school out there in the workforce. You better get a college degree. Now college is so expensive, you're going to rack up 40 grand in debt the minute you leave college and start your life with that as a servant. Dude, this is never the way humanity used to work. It's only since man got involved with his greed and his engineering and his inability to see around corners. We used to smoke in the workplace. We used to smoke on cabs and cars and airplanes. We thought asbestos was a good idea. Some idiots in the government thought prohibition was a good idea. That's what created the $1 billion funding for the mob.
Yes.
Was prohibition.
Yep.
And you literally give a criminal element its wet dream. They couldn't have thought anything better than put us in charge of booze distribution.
Yep. And then
country.
And then the mob.
This is your government. It is ruining humanity, and that's why we can go on and on. But look at that evil.
Yep.
Payrolls are up 80%, commodity prices up 400%.
And we're feeling it. I mean, I know everyone's feeling it. It's insane. And then just real quick to put a cap on that thing about the mob, then the government absorbed the mob. You know, the FBI became the mob. The mob was running the FBI.
They learned from them. These guys are so much better than they thought, right? Because government isn't dynamic thinkers.
Right.
They are not. So like, this is how I'll prove it to you. So you have a 1 in 3 chance of winning a $10 million lottery, but you got to work at the DMV for a year. See how you got to think about it. You're like, I don't know.
You want me to join ISIS? Like, come on.
So that's the thing. There's kind of two kinds of people, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with anybody.
No.
Wherever you find safety and sanctuary, great. We're all looking for that. We're all wandering through this life.
Of course.
There aren't any blueprints written on how to raise kids. There really aren't any on how to do life. There aren't any if you should go become a mathematician or a gardener. Right. It's just we're always at these transition points where it's just unknown on both sides.
I totally agree. Paul, before you go, do you think there is gold in Fort Knox?
No. No.
Dang.
And this is back to my, I started at the top of the show, the detective, retired detective. So if you got two people that really haven't thought about this, they just got the chair again, if you will, the Oval Office. And they start making all these claims, and the party's kicking off, the honeymoon's about to begin, and they're just saying stuff they haven't really researched, and all of a sudden there is no more to be said about it. It's because the result of them actually throwing a spotlight on Fort Knox would reveal gold's not there. Because Donald Trump talks about fake news, but I don't think he really creates it. Maybe some of his people do. They spin stuff, whatever. All politicians do, right? All administrations do that sort of thing. But to literally give such a creation to conspiracy theory, no. Someone told them. Someone sat them down. Stop making noise about Fort Knox. The gold's been gone a long time ago. It's not there.
Scary.
Otherwise,
that's how I feel.
Why wouldn't he fly there and the Marine chopper and pull up and videotape it all? It's some of the most beautiful things you could look at is rooms full of gold.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you're right, man. I think that's really scary. Well, Paul, this was a pleasure and scary, but inspiring. And people, I hope, take something away from that that's inspiring. Because I know everyone can relate to how brutal it is right now in this economy. And I think it's worth knowing, I think it's very important to know how this happened to us. Obviously we all make our own decisions and we can make poor decisions, but we have been under attack for over a century by our own government and unelected bureaucrats. So author of 1971, you can get it on Amazon. Do you have a website where they can find that as well, or anything else from you?
Yeah, it's a simple site. It's called thebook1971.com.
Sick. Everyone check it out. And Paul,
I lucked out with Janine Pirro writing.
That's right.
The foreword, Roger Stone writing the intro, Larry Kudlow wrote on the back, and Greg Kelly from Newsmax wrote on the back as well. Very blessed.
That's incredible.
But it literally is the mustard seed of truth that explains why life is so miserable today for so many people all around the world.
Yeah, it's terrible, but it's really important to know that stuff. And how can people find you online?
_Paul Stone on Twitter.
All right, cool.
I'm a little new to the social media thing. I certainly love carrying this message. I just want to see people. I know the brilliance and magic of the human being is as soon as they're aware of something, they can't continue in disillusionment and being lost. Like, if you think how much the world suffered anxiety today, what does anxiety need to have to exist? Uncertainty, right? Clarity kills uncertainty. This book will literally clarify you with the distinction of how much power we've given up to these goofballs in Washington and every other form of government in the country. And there's certain extremes of the good and the bad to that. How much power we've given up waiting for someone to deliver like a good, comfortable life to us. No, we still have to go make it. You just recognize the Lewis and Clark in you, the Christopher Columbus in you, the Michael Jordan flying from the top of the key, slamming the basket in the net with his tongue hanging out, lives in all of us.
Yeah. Agreed.
We can all get that.
Agreed. Thanks, man. Paul, it was a real pleasure talking, and we'll do it again, man. We'll talk soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Have a great night, man. Of course.
Everyone, have a great night.
Thank you. Everyone, please check out his book. Check him out online. I think the more people have, like he said, a clarity of this idea, because this is a giant facet in the war against us. If we can have that clear view in our head of what the heck we got to start yelling at more. It's a huge issue. They've been attacking us so deeply. Shout out to Paul, though. I met him at the Great Vulcan in Austin, Texas, where Kill Tony used to be filmed. And it was one of my first, I was hosting an event, and I did one of my first like stand-up sets. Didn't go so well. And I'm glad Paul still stuck around. There were some good Krasenstein jokes in there. It wasn't a real, the audience wasn't as terminally on Twitter as my jokes were. So, but it was fun. And I love the Vulcan. Shout out to the Vulcan. And yeah, thanks to Paul for that. And it's crazy. Janine Pirro writing the forward. Wild lady. Met her briefly once. But hey, guys, let's do some phone calls.
Yeah. So we're going to kill, and Paul, I think you're probably still hanging. We're going to kill this meeting. And I'm going to start another one and get a link out to you guys in just a minute here. So if Shane, you got anything to cover in the next, 60 seconds or so while I get that going?
Oh, man. Well, I've where do I begin? I have so many things in my mind. Well, someone just asked if I ate poop. I don't know. Is there any on my face still? I did. I thought I wiped it all off. I'm so sorry. So sorry.
Yeah, it's the shit-eating grin that you're wearing on your face. That's what it is.
I always have that. Oh, man, when I do smile. I was thinking he mentioned like people in the city. I was thinking of New York City. Like Janine Pirro's there, and she's at WABC, and just thinking about Curtis Sliwa. I think we were talking about that before we were live. I think with Paul, but Curtis Sliwa, who's one of the guys running for mayor, who won his primary, Republican, and he I don't know if you guys saw this story, but he walked off his radio show yesterday or the day before when his host and his boss said, you should drop out of the race and support Cuomo. To which he's like, I'm done. I quit. I think that's pretty gangster. If you don't know who Curtis Lewa is, he's literally taken bullets for the city. He started the Guardian Angels. Very wild story. I see some of you guys saying Yellow Tiger, not a fan of Sliwa. I'm really not a fan of anyone who wants to be a politician, but out of that group, I guess I'd take him because I think he does care about the city. They all say they do, but they're all liars. But the story of him getting shot up is crazy. Chili Peen, this guy eats poop. Yo, dude, did you not hear how bad the finances are right now? It's brutal. It's brutal out there. How you doing over there? Should we announce all the links in the chat now?
Yeah, the links are out.
All right, cool.
The links are out. Go ahead and
Links
hit them
are
if you
out.
haven't already. I just saw somebody say that the link is not there. The link is, in fact, there. I think it was posted while you were typing that it's not there.
Yellow Tiger says, those Guardian Angels started a bunch of crap at our local skate park. All they did was start fights. Well, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Which is bullshit. Take it outside the skate park. Let people skate for crying out loud. I hated that shit.
Oh, man.
We used to get that a lot in Chicago, too.
Yeah.
Just some random douche on a fucking BMX bike or something would come up being a dick, and you're just like, all right, dude, well, have you ever seen the movie Kids? Because I'm about to hit you with my board, But
actually, we had that happening in our town, and one of those, there was a guy who hit someone in the head pretty bad with a skateboard, and then that kid fled town for a long time.
You hit him with a truck? Dude. Oh, my God.
Oh, dude, it was so bad.
You're cracking someone's skull, man.
That's terrible.
That's a serious weapon.
Great skater. Great skater. This is that must have been 25 years ago. Insane.
All right. Do you got anything else you want to address here before we get on the phones?
Do we have people in the room?
Yeah, we got a few.
Let's go. And then maybe later we'll get to some mosquitoes or King Tut.
Okay. So, Steven, we're going to try this again. I remember we tried to bring you on yesterday, and it sounded like you were being launched into space. So we're going to... hopefully the audio is better today, but I want to give this guy a chance to speak his piece here. Steven, if you can unmute and say what's up, you're on the show.
I'm scared. Last time I think it scarred my brain.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
We got you.
So you can hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, you're good today. Just mute the stream in the background for us because we're getting that. But otherwise, yeah, you sound better today.
Unmute.
No, you're unmuted, but you need to mute the stream. You're listening to the stream in the background instead of the music.
Okay.
We'll get there one day, I promise.
It'd be cool if we could actually have like we could beam them in here like through a hologram.
Talk to Palantir.
Talk to Palantir. CNN did that like in 2008. They beamed someone in via hologram to the studio to see.
Actually, that's
Blitzer. We can do that. We have the technology.
That actually might be Lockheed. We need to call for that one.
Maybe, yeah. Hinchy187 says, "I'll fight for Shane." Oh boy, are you still talking about poop?
Okay, so Steven, you have muted your mic once more. If you can hear me, sir, you need to unmute your mic in Zoom, and you need to mute the stream that you are watching that is running 15 to 20 seconds behind what is actually happening live.
And while we wait, I'm just going to say hello to everybody out there. What's up, Rumble? What's up, YouTube? It's very good to see you on this Thursday night.
What up?
You guys are awesome.
Like the show, share the show, all that good shit. Comment, subscribe, share. We will be here for another hour.
Crazy. Steven, how's it going?
Are we there?
Oh, no.
Oh.
So I have to turn off the speakers?
Maybe.
Or at the very least, turn them down. But you're listening to the live show, it sounds like, not the Zoom meeting.
Illmadix is asking if we use Streamlab. I don't believe we do. Right?
If we do what?
We're not on Streamlab, right?
Streamlab?
Yeah.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, we don't use that. I'm a caveman, so I know very little about Brandon's side of things, but I'm pretty sure we don't use that. Hey, that sounds pretty good.
All right, we're rocking now.
All right.
Okay, I got it.
Welcome to the show.
I'm an old geezer, so I'm having a tough time.
It's okay.
You're okay, man. I'm right behind you.
Me too. Stuff. Yep. Well, what's going on?
Anyway, that Paul Stone is a very interesting dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he's plugged in, man.
Interesting guy. I agree with basically everything he said, but like I think that America started to go downhill in the 60s, and I don't really blame Nixon so much. I understand what he's saying. He got off the gold standard, but I don't think Nixon understood what he was doing, really.
Yeah, well, I think the 60s is a major turning point, but the creation of the Fed in 1912 or 13, in my opinion, is one of those landmarks of we can point to a number of these landmarks along the destruction of this country. The 60s might have been one of the culminations of a lot of it, where we really, because you see assassinations, war, it's kind of a hodgepodge of everything, plus all the experiments on people with, MK Ultra.
Well, I know, yeah, but I kind of think that for me, in my opinion, my weird way of saying it, we had the media was taken over by the left. I would even say, communists. The communists took over the media at the end of the 60s. They fought from 1930 until 1960 to take over the media. They finally got it around 1970. So 1970, they definitely had the media under control, but it took them a long time to do that. And evidence for that is TV shows like MASH and All in the Family, which were anti-American, anti-patriotic, and the stand-in for the leftist was a hippie, meathead, and the stand-in for the conservatives was, a dumb foreman from the straight. He's like an overweight, stupid guy who didn't understand anything, and so it's obviously hard. This is hardcore left-wing propaganda encased in a nice tasting candy shell. So it feels good going down, but the poison is inside the candy. And after it dissolves in your stomach, then the poison gets into your system. So they use this. It's in Ben Shapiro's book, Primetime Propaganda. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Mm-mm.
Ben Shapiro?
I know who he is, but I don't know his book.
He wrote about 13 or 14 books, and Primetime Propaganda, I couldn't stop reading it. It was electrifying. I just,
Well, I can't argue with the fact that the Marxists took over media, and I always talk about they in the 60s they destroyed, and in the 70s,
they thoroughly destroyed the ethics and the morality of America. That's why it doesn't exist anymore. So what Nixon did with the gold standard may have been bad, but like I think it's more serious that, like Tim Pool says, if we all had the same values, we wouldn't need a constitution.
Yeah,
we wouldn't need to write it down, right?
I think it's a nice thing to think about. I just think it's impossible with the fall of man and how greedy and evil people can be. But I totally am with you on the 60s and the Marxists and what happened with the Weather Underground. And on top of them taking over media, they also invaded universities. And then the country started saying, you have basically got to go to college. It's the only way to get a real job. And
because they want to control who gets a job. They want to make sure that whoever gets a job has the correct political view, the correct political perspective. So that's why it's important to get a degree, so that they can make sure that if you're a right-wing person, you don't get a job, and you don't get into some sort of important profession or vocation or whatever. And they don't want conservatives to have influential positions. So that's why they take over the universities, to brainwash youngsters who are going to be the future, brainwash them into seeing things from a Marxist lens, and B, to be able to try to control the economy because they're going to put their Marxist thinking students into the influential positions. And in the 80s, the establishment became the Clintons. Bill and Hillary Clinton, that type of person, became the establishment in the 80s.
Right.
And then Barack Obama was younger. He came a little bit later, but he was already a hardcore communist. He's hardcore, that guy. There's no question.
And then just to put a bookend to the Clintons, though, and then tie it in with what Paul's saying, is that Hillary has literally called herself a Wilsonian, progressive, right? And so Wilson creating the Fed and doing just a bunch of terrible stuff to this country and the world. I mean, what he did to Haiti was terrible. What he did with it was just ridiculous. He ran on the platform of no wars, and then he got us into World War I. And he was just, I think, one of the worst presidents. And then that started this evolution to what we get with the Clintons, who I think are completely deranged and also attacked Haiti in weird and strange ways, like her favorite president, Wilson. And also this idea of credentialism. We talk about college as well. Wilson was a big college guy, wrote a bunch of books, credentialist, someone who thought he was better than you. And that's how the Clintons think of us too. And that's how a lot of those hippies that came out of
the credential is a tool to control who gets into an influential position. If we can determine who gets the paper, those guys are going to have the influential positions.
Right.
If we see somebody's a conservative like Ben Shapiro, guess what? He fails. He doesn't get the credential. That's what happens. I had a friend who did an essay. I was in a college here in Toronto, and we had a philosophy professor, and I didn't have him, but my friend had him, and he's a smart guy, my friend. And he wrote in his essay that, if a person is born with no fingers, he ain't going to become a concert pianist. And he failed the essay because the professor was a communist. And if you say something that implies that you believe that heredity has some value, you fail. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the politically correct view, we don't want you to succeed. We don't want you to get into a position where you can make any important decisions. We just want to make sure that the right people get in, and that's also why they're pushing women in. The universities lowered the bar for women and raised the bar for men. That's why there's 2/3. Like the student bodies in all the universities are now 2/3 women and 1/3 men.
Yeah.
Because they want to dethrone men. And there's a war on men.
And destroy the family.
Men have to be dethroned, destroyed, and eliminated. And women are a way of doing that. They don't care about the women. They don't give a shit about the women. They're just using them as a temporary weapon to get rid of the men. When they've achieved some sort of female thing, they're going to destroy the women because they want to destroy the economy. They hate free market enterprise. They want a Soviet-style economy for the entire Western world.
Right.
That's their goal.
I think
That's their goal.
And I think that's a lot of gatekeeping too that's still happening right now. And unfortunately, it's gone where we're at right now is beyond left and right, in my opinion. And I think I see the gatekeeping happening on all sides. And I see a lot of people on the right asking about or doing things that are like gatekeeping the same way the left was doing or the Marxists were doing. And, you talk about like someone like Shapiro, I see them as a part of the fracturing within the right now and a portion of gatekeeping that's happening when it comes to certain ideas and questions. And I think it's getting it's getting sketchier out there now because it felt like it was easy to identify the left versus the right. And what's happening now is gatekeeping across all sides. And that's an issue that I'm looking at now. But like, obviously the 60s were a problem. The 70s were an issue with the way the hippies took over. In my opinion, the hippies, they were like puppeteered by the establishment to feel like they were counterculture only to become the establishment. How many of those hippies in the 60s are, neocons today or liberals? And in my opinion, there's not much of a distinction between a lot of them policy-wise.
Well, yeah, maybe the hippies were puppeteered, but they weren't puppeteered by the establishment. They were puppeteered by the Marxists. The young kids in university, like a 20-year-old, you're 20 years old when you go to university, roughly, or 18, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you go from Nebraska as an 18-year-old into University of California, Brandeis, you're not going to be arguing about we shouldn't be in Vietnam. They got these ideas from the professors. And the professors were these old 60-year-old communists who came from Germany because they had to leave in 1933 when Hitler was elected. And they thought, well, we better get out of Dodge. Let's go to New York. They all went to New York, but two of them went to California, Adorno and Marcuse. They went to California because there's pretty girls there, there's sunshine, the weather's much nicer. But most of them stuck in Manhattan, in Columbia. And then over the next 30 years, they brainwashed all the students that they could. They built up a whole culture on the university campus that's against America, totally against America, and brainwash all these young kids. And the young kids' phrases through the 60s then, when they reached that critical mass where the students were starting to revolt against the Vietnam War, when Johnson was the president. They didn't when Kennedy was the president because they didn't get there yet. But when Johnson became the president, they reached that critical mass where these 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds were, throwing Molotov cocktails and stones at the police, getting shot in Berkeley with rubber bullets. Some of them died, seven of them died. Then they had these huge demonstrations in Chicago in 1967 against Lyndon Johnson. They were demonstrating at the Democratic convention in Chicago.
Right.
And Mayor Daley was the mayor, and he was trying to deal with it with the police. It was a huge. There's just violence all over the place. Plus the Weather Underground, they were blowing things up.
Of course.
And when Nixon came in, all of a sudden everything went quiet.
So
because.
Finish your thought. Sorry.
So I'm thinking that this was a major disruption to the ethical system, and the morals and ethics were destroyed by brainwashing the next generation of people who are going to come into the economy, come into politics. So they're like the Clintons, and they believe, maybe many of them truly believe in Marxism. They're like true believers, but some of them are just. I don't think Hillary Clinton is a Marxist. I think she's just an opportunist. She just wants to make money and have power. And in a sense,
I agree.
Some people adhere to the left-right paradigm, but some people, they just want power. They just want money, and that's Hillary Clinton to a T. I don't think she doesn't go home and read Karl Marx.
No.
Bill Clinton, on the other hand, probably is more interested in Karl Marx.
She goes home and drinks blood. Before we get to the next caller, I just want to say I agree with that part, with the Marxists to take over the 60s. But when I'm saying that the establishment puppeteered them, it's that we also at the same exact time had the CIA infiltrating the counterculture in Laurel Canyon, creating all these like musicians, celebrities, movie stars, popping out all this propaganda from Mount Look Observatory, feeding them LSD.
Where do you get that from?
Read Chaos, read Poisoner in Chief, read Wild Scenes from Laurel Canyon. It's well documented, declassified.
Just because somebody writes a book doesn't mean it's true.
Oh, well, you can certainly look into all of that and look at source material for sure. It's a huge movement that happened throughout the 60s. And
I question it. I don't want to argue with you, but
you should go look it up and call back, because it was a major movement within the CIA to infiltrate the counterculture, especially the anti-war movement.
All right. I'm willing to admit that, but the ethos has been messed with, and I think that's the major problem. And I don't think Nixon knew what he was doing. He didn't understand.
Yeah.
A lot of politicians don't understand economics. They just don't understand it. And they have to rely on their advisors. And I don't know who his advisor was. I think it was, I can't remember.
Well, I want to get to other callers because we're getting late in the night. Yeah. But I love this conversation, and I really do hope you call back and we can talk more about the, how the Marxist thing was happening, but the parallel to that is the CIA destroying the counterculture and the hippies and then recreating them. And that's how we got Manson. And, you can hit me up on Twitter or Instagram, wherever. And that might sound funny to you, but there are large documents that have been declassified and various books and various authors who've written about this. It's crazy.
Okay. All right.
Call me back.
Have a good night.
You too, man.
So
you're
not pissed off with me.
Why would I be pissed off? I love this stuff. No, this is great.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah, I like you guys. Keep it up.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Till next time.
Take care.
Bye. All right, let's do it. Next caller. Who do we got?
Got heated, huh?
That wasn't heated. That was nothing.
I know. I'm just fucking around.
That was nothing. Right now,
it clearly did not get heated at all.
Right now on Twitter, I'm getting lit up because I said a nice thing about Candace, because I can't stand all the piling on of Candace. Look,
I mean, she's kind of getting her ass kicked, but she's also
she's fine.
She's openly asking for some of that
Candace
right now. I feel
she'll be fine, and I completely support her. Like I've said on the show before, I mean, I just am looking at right now. I tweeted this before I went to work. I'm like, oh goodness, people get very emotional.
She was
Twitter.
in my boat when they Tim and her debated my whole Vex story on the show right after it happened, and she was totally right about everything. So.
Yeah,
I don't trash talk her.
Yep.
She's cool.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I think she's probably loving the
Oh my goodness.
Right now,
Cat
honestly.
Turd commented on my tweet now about Cat Turd.
Turd?
Oh, he's like our biggest political pundit on Twitter. He said, "Are you bad shit crazy like her? Apparently you are." He can't even spell right.
Bad shit, he said. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. The intelligence quotient.
That's amazing. I got a Cat Turd in my tweets. Well, I'll deal with that later.
It's
guys.
all good. We love our haters too.
What do we got?
You guys, you 9 guys that click the dislike button every night. You're the reason I get up out of that queen bed in the morning. So thanks. Keep doing it. Do it right now if you haven't.
That's amazing.
For everybody else, click the like button and comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff while I'm at it.
I'm gonna retweet it and I'm gonna say Toxoplasmosis has joined the chat.
Where are you guys getting these fucking names from?
Do you know Toxoplasmosis? If something a disease you can get if you
Oh, it's like actually a thing.
If you play with cat poop. You get
wow.
Is this why people are saying I have poop in my mouth? Because of the cat turd?
I keep forgetting that there is people out there that do shit like that. That doesn't, it's not like a thought that you think.
It's not only if you eat it. Like, they tell, and who knows how real this is, they tell pregnant women not to mess with, cleaning cat litter while they're pregnant, because it could be bad.
Dude, man. I try to make my roommate clean his litter box as much as possible because I'm just like, dude, I can't handle that shit. I'm allergic to cats. I had cats as a kid, but man, they fucked me up real bad.
I love cats. All right, who do we got next?
Back on the phones. We are going to go to Stacy Gregory.
Real bad.
Stacy, are you there?
On a phone.
Oh, no.
Are you kidding?
Nope.
Really?
Dead serious. Correct. Yes.
Are
here.
you really? Oh my gosh, this is the first time I've ever called in.
All right. What's up?
Oh my God, Shane. Oh my gosh. I saw you on Timcast and I just fell in love with you.
Uh-oh.
And I've been listening and watching you
Thank
guys
you.
for the last, 3 months.
Oh, sweet.
And I just love your topics. I love your callers. I disagree. I agree. I love it all. So
Perfect.
thank you so much for having a show that is just relative for what's going on in the world.
I
So
appreciate that.
Really quick, Stacy, we love all
Yes.
that. I think she fixed it. Did
She
you
got
get?
it.
We were having feedback for a
Yeah,
second. I
it
think you
sounds
had the
better
stream
now.
turned up, but you're good now. You're good
yes, I closed my laptop. So
now. Oh, okay, fantastic. All right, yeah, you're good now. Thank you.
okay, perfect. And I'm just talking, and I have a cold, so I do apologize for my voice
Okay.
here.
All good. Well, what's going on?
Well, I wanted to call in because I've been watching you guys, and I love the stories about angels and demons and all of those fun things. But I just wanted to share my little angel story. I was baptized Catholic. I am not a practicing Catholic anymore, but I am a Christian. Trying to get back into possibly being a practicing Catholic. I don't know, kind of dabbling into that. But the reason why, and I've been married to an atheist and I'm engaged to another atheist. So I've had all those challenges in my life. But I think what's kept my faith is my story of meeting my guardian angel when I was in 7th grade. Pretty cool. But the craziest things, I had a nightmare when I was probably about 9 years old of a situation. And then in middle school, the whole situation had come true. And what had happened is my mom had taken me out to the beach. I live in Oregon. I live in Bend, Oregon, most beautiful place. Yes, a crazy state, I know, but
It is pretty out there.
it is gorgeous. I don't know if you've been to Bend,
I haven't.
but we're pretty republic. We're kind of right, and there's a lot of libs too, but we all get along. We love each other, and we're just very friendly people out here. But anywho, so went to Newport in Oregon, and we stayed there for a week for our vacation. And my mom decided to take us horseback riding. And so it was the first time that had ever been on a horse. And there was probably a party of about 20 of us on a bunch of horses. So we're out riding a bunch of horses. It was great, beautiful. It was foggy on the beach. And we were riding, and in about an hour, we had to turn around to get back to, where we had started. And my horse kind of started, riding really quickly, like really, really fast with the instructor. She was in front of me, and we kind of lost the entire group because they started running back to the meeting point because what I later had found out that they were hungry. So they started running and running, and I obviously didn't know how to ride a horse, so I was screaming, and she kept looking at me, and I just remember seeing her face, and she's like, you need to stop screaming. You're causing the horse to get worked up. She's yelling back at me, like, stop screaming, and I'm just screaming.
It's like a
Anywho,
machine. You're on a machine with 4 legs and a big heart
it
and
was
eyes on
the
either side of its head.
scariest. And the horse was like in the water, so I was getting wet. And the saddle had started turning to the left of the horse.
Oh, man.
And I was holding for dear life.
Now
right?
that's trick riding where I'm from.
Yeah, right. And I probably held on for, it felt like 10 minutes, but it was probably 20 seconds. Let's be real.
Right.
And the horse's foot started pounding my face. And
man.
I just remember the horse's head, the horse's legs hitting my face. And I was so scared, and I just completely blacked out.
Oh man, that's horrible.
Yeah, it was nasty. And I woke up, and I was soaking wet, and this woman was holding me on the side of the beach, and it was crazy because it was foggy, and I remember this dream. So I was like living in a dream I had. It was so crazy to experience it. And she was holding me, and she was like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And I just had blood, gushing from my face. And I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And she's like, the ambulance are on the way. Everything's going to be okay. I'm like, great, and my mom was nowhere to be in sight. I guess the whole group besides the instructor and myself were the only ones that we had. I guess the horses had run so far ahead that we were, no one else was around. And it was so foggy. You almost couldn't even see like 10 feet in front of you.
Right.
So she's like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then my mom shows up and she's obviously freaking out and, keeping her shit together. And she's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? I knew there was a bad feeling. I had a feeling something was wrong. And I'm like, yeah, oh my gosh. And my mom at the time, like we grew up really, really poor. My mom had no health insurance. So she, later on, we talked about it, but she's saying, like, I can't afford for you to go to the hospital. Like, we have to figure this out. And so the ambulance had come and they looked at it. They're like, oh yeah, I don't think it's really not that bad. It's just bleeding more than it looks. It's fine. She has a pretty gnarly cut on her face, but it's going to be fine. She's like, oh yeah. I think we're going to be okay. We're going to, I'll take her later on. And this old man, shit you not, he was probably he looked like he was 80 years old and he had a cane with him, had showed up and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, honey, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And he's like, well, I just wanted to, God loves you. I just wanted to tell you God loves you. He's always with you. And I was like, thank you. That's really sweet. Thank you so much. And he's like, I just need to tell you, I love you and God loves you and everything's going to be okay. And I said, okay, okay, weird, whatever. And so my mom gathers, he's still standing there. My mom and I get our stuff and we basically book it to our car. And it's probably half a mile. And so we're walking in the sand half a mile. Man. Then we have the stairs to go up. And it's, I don't know if you've ever been to the Oregon coast, but it's pretty steep. So we go up to our old Nissan Pathfinder, right? And the old man is standing there with the cane, standing there by the car. There's no possible way that he could have made it. There's no way. There's no way. And her and I looked at each other and I knew it from that moment. That was my guardian angel.
Whoa.
And I said to him, I was like, what are you doing here? And he goes, Stacy, I just have to, and he said, Stacy, I just had to tell you that God loves you and everything's going to be okay. And he just walked away.
That's amazing.
Just walked away.
That was it.
And that was it.
And your mom saw him?
I just knew it. Yes. My mom and I still talk about him. My mom and I still talk about him till this day. And then a year later, we went to the beach, to the same coast, and we were in one of those little shops. And there was a statue of the little man with the flipping cane.
No.
In the statue.
No.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It was just unbelievable.
Did he have like a history there or something? Like, was he?
No, there's nothing of that sort. This is a random man, just a random. It was my guardian angel. I know for a fact. I feel it in my heart.
That's amazing.
I know it. And as much as my life has been crazy and I've married all these atheists and been with all these atheists and I've veered away from my love of Christ and whatnot, whatever my venture has been, it's just, I always go back to him because I know I'm just a blessed person that has seen, he's given me the blessing of knowing that he's real. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are atheist or agnostic and they haven't seen, because they need to see proof. And
Right.
I get that. And I'm just really lucky that I guess I got to see,
Yeah.
I got to experience that
Yeah,
in my life, which
especially
is
after
cool.
a pretty traumatic experience. I've done a lot of horse riding in my youth, and I've been beat up by horses, and they can destroy you. I mean, I've seen a lady get paralyzed underneath a horse. I've been thrown off. I've seen a guy. I mean, it's brutal. They're brutal, but
It is brutal.
That's an amazing story.
It's brutal.
I understand. It's funny the atheist part, because it made me think about how my wife, God bless her, for all the years we've been together, you know, I was militantly atheist and she was a Christian.
Yeah.
I don't know how she put up with me. And at times I could be fairly rude about certain things. And when it comes to religion, you know, I was just mocking it openly. And, you know, I thought it was funny. And
I understand.
And then all of a sudden I had my own awakening and, you know, here I am. But that's wild. I just say that to say, like, you keep
so lucky.
Hope. I am lucky.
You are so lucky.
I am lucky. No one would have seen that happen. But I was just saying that to be like, you know, if you love someone and they happen to not have faith, there is that small chance that they can have faith. It does take, for me, it took my own experience. Like, it wasn't someone that keep telling me, although it probably warmed my heart and softened me up to the idea. It was having my own, like, experience.
Yes,
that
of course.
Changed me, you know.
And I understand that, and I pray for, you know, my ex-husband to have that experience, and my fiance, you know, we've been together now for 10 years, so essentially my new husband. So I do pray that happens, because I think that certain people just need to see it and feel it for themselves. Yep. And I get it. Like, I don't judge anyone that thinks a certain way, or, you know, that I get it, because I would have to see it too. I think I would have to be the type of person. I was just so lucky that I was so young,
right?
That got to experience something so beautiful that my faith is forever ingrained in me. So, but I'm just a trying Christian. I'm not perfect at all.
Well, none of us are. By
no means.
Yeah, none of us are. That's okay.
My work calls me a walking HR nightmare. So
I'm sure people say that about me around here.
But I don't want to take much more of your time. I cannot believe you answered my phone call. That is so awesome.
That was all Brandon.
It's the first time I've called in.
I'm glad we had you.
Thank you so much, Brandon.
Oh, you're all good.
You are so adorable, by the way.
Thank you.
I don't know if you're married or have a girlfriend. I don't know what your situation is, but I'm trying to think of anyone for you. I don't know. But,
that's what I'm talking about.
You know what? And I absolutely love the clothes you wear. They're not satanic. You're all good, dude. Represent your team. You're all good. Right. So
hell yeah.
Let's turn this into a dating show for Brandon.
Yeah, Inverted Love Live. No, I'm good.
Oh my gosh.
I love it, but I do not need to be fixed up. But it's fantastic that people out there are working for that. I love that.
Oh, I guess it will all come in good time whenever it's meant to be.
It was so nice. It was so nice to talk to you and hear your story. Thank you so much for the kind words.
Oh, thank you so much. And I will continue watching you and supporting you, and watching Tim cast IRL too. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, so you guys are great.
Awesome.
Thanks, Stacey.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Brandon Metal Flake says, LOL, Brando didn't laugh when he called Shane a working HR nightmare. Dude, I don't make it easy on my colleagues. Sometimes I say things, that I don't think everyone likes.
Oh, that's
but we're all friends. It's all good. Everything's great. Cat turd doesn't like it. But cat turd is a cat turd. Well, who do we got next?
Horror Rod said, Brandon in a suit. You guys have no fucking idea how good I clean up when I actually do.
Dang.
Actually, Ryan, Tim's brother, when we were back at the wedding in Chicago, I walked onto the boat and I was full suit, done up, like just cleaned completely up. And Ryan turned around and he looked at me and he goes, are you fucking kidding me? He goes, dude. And he gave me like the hardest handshake ever. Like I had actually earned his respect just because of how good I looked when I showed up. And I was like, dude, hell yeah. I'm going to try to hold on to that. Thank you.
So we'll open up an email for the lucky ladies out there who want to date Brandon. We'll do a whole series, a dating series now. But yeah, shout out to Ryan.
Shit.
Ryan's the man.
Yeah, Ryan's awesome. That's the guy you want at your house if EMP ever torches the country.
Bro, he is ready.
He is so ready, dude.
He is ready.
So many cool things I could tell you about that guy, but we're not going to go down that route. Let's get to another caller. We only got about 27 minutes left. So we're going to try to get as many people in as we can. But let's see. We got Nate Diggity.
Hey. I don't know why it made me think of that. Nate Dogg.
Yep.
I'm not even going to say it.
Nate, can you unmute your mic, please? You guys know what that means for you.
It is Thursday. Thursday is Inverted Worlds Friday.
It is Thirsty Thursday.
Thursday is Inverted Worlds
And
Friday.
I didn't make that up. That somebody else did that. That's how I even want to drink right now. But we got the air conditioner.
Oh, you know
working.
what? I'll take this time right now while we wait for the next caller.
It was Brian, by the way.
Are you kidding me?
Brian
I'm
cranked
getting
his
up.
heat in that room, and he locked the door for 3 days, and
unbelievable.
that's why everybody's shit's been screwed up. But I fixed it. We're good.
So I'll say two guests we have coming on for next Thursday for the Halloween show.
Yeah, you might as well throw it out.
We got Drea De Matteo from Sons of Anarchy and Sopranos, and we have so she'll be on for a little bit, and then I'll have Sam Tripoli for a little bit. Shout out to Drea and Sam.
We also might have some in-studio guests too, as well, right?
Yep. So I'm stoked.
And we'll be taking your calls, of course, too.
It's going to be a 3-hour show. But the guests that I have calling in, we'll do like 20, 30 minutes. I like to have each of them back on. Sam's been on the show a few times. But I like to have them both on for a full, interview. But we want to have fun.
Oh, they can even take calls with us if they want.
Can we do that with them on?
I might be able to figure it out.
Yeah, because we couldn't before.
I think it's like a scene thing, but I might be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, Nate, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can. Welcome to the show.
What up?
Thanks. Yeah, just some funky thing. Just so you know, when you're in Zoom, especially on mobile, as soon as you guys add someone, it like wigs out for everybody. So that's what the weird delay is with everybody.
Interesting.
Really? Some people don't have it. Some people are instant connect, and just aren't muted, and other people come on with like nothing, and then they can't hear us, and it's weird. So I don't know, but that's good to know.
Yep. Thanks, man.
Yeah. I called a couple weeks ago. I was talking about dispensationalism. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep, I do.
Tonight, completely different topic. Yeah, dude, cat turd, man. Beyond sus.
Beyond sus,
come on.
dude. He's terrible.
Let's use our common sense. Like, look at
Dude,
there's no question there. What's going on? Something funky's going on with that whole thing.
Sus
Dude,
turds.
he's trash. He's trash.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's very, Anyway, but you guys were talking about geoengineering last night. I wanted to kind of expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So, like, why the heck are they doing it? Like, have you guys contemplated that? Like, why? Like, what's the why? Because it used to be that the argument used to be like, is it a real thing? And we're so far beyond that now. So it's just like, why? And some things I've figured out from research, like, the whole thing with fluoridated water.
Like what it's doing to our pineal glands?
Yeah, just the whole concept of like fluoridated water. Everyone's been talking about it forever, and the whole story of how it came about and everything. So
Yeah, the cover story is it's to prevent people's teeth from rotting out, but again, pros and cons, right?
Yep, that's what they say.
Yeah, I'm going the financial angle though, because like the story is that there's a massive fertilizer production going on in the U.S. and like the byproduct is it's fluorosilicic acid. It's not the mineral fluoride. It's like full blown chemical, and they used to have to pay to dispose of their trash basically, and then the propaganda dentist came out and said it was good. So now, on the monetary side of things, like now they can sell their trash basically by dumping it in the public water systems. So the same thing seems to be going on with geoengineering. Have you ever heard of coal fly ash?
No.
So basically, like I don't know if this is true or not, but it's based on my research over the years. But the coal plants that are all over the United States, like they have those big stacks on top, the scrubbers, and it's to like purify, the byproducts before it goes back in the atmosphere, and it collects like all the junk that's found in the ground samples from spraying.
Oh, that's
so
lovely.
Like, yeah. So I think it's the same thing. I think that's where the material is coming from, because it's an unfathomable amount of material they're spraying.
Yeah.
And it's not everywhere all the time, but like I grew up in Southern California. It's part of the reason I moved was to get away from it, because I was just like becoming neurotic about it. Like my fiance at the time was just like, you need to shut up about this. And it's like, I don't know what to do. Like the planes come over on the coast, they start spraying, it's clear as day. It merges into like this nasty haze. You can see it, depending on the light angle, you can see it falling out of the sky. You start getting sniffles. So I started like volunteering for, have you heard of geoengineeringwatch.org with Dane Wigington?
Yes, of course. I tried getting him on the show with me and Cloudman. But Cloudman declined.
Yeah, he's a pretty intense dude, but he's very legit, very passionate about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. But yeah, no, I just keep circling back to like the why, because it's, you know, it's definitely happening. And you know, we know some things, like people know that like Monsanto has patents like where their GMO corn and whatnot is resilient to aluminum. Like there's those kinds of things going on. But then a lot of people ask, like, if they're spraying, then if the bad guys or whatever are spraying, why would they? Because they're breathing the same air. So it just makes me really suspicious. Like, there's something more to this. It's not just making money on spraying their trash. It's not just like global warming. Sorry, I know I've been talking for a while.
It's okay. I think there's just more than one why. I think there's so many different companies and people out there with different reasons on why they want to do geoengineering and different ways of geoengineering, that they're kind of like they're competing with one another, and it all seems to harm us. You know, like Bill Gates with ScopeX, he says he wants to block the sun to help fix climate change, but for all of them, it's some sort of control over us, and they want to harness the power. They want to be the environment. They want to be a god.
Which blows my mind, because it's technically bad business to harm your customers. You want your customers to be repeat customers. You want them to be long term. But why are you killing people
Here's
off?
a good example. I think because a lot of this stuff now, in my opinion, is keeping you just barely alive, right? So like Big Pharma.
It's obvious they want you to die.
Just barely alive. They want you enslaved and hooked on to whatever they're selling.
The most successful businesses are the ones that have customer retention for the longer periods of time.
Agreed.
And the people that stick around.
Agreed.
You want that. You want people to live a hell of a long time while more people are born and joining.
Unless some of these people, they might happen to sometimes say publicly that there's too many people on the planet.
Yeah, you know, there's
Bill Gates, you know,
and we know that, you know, and like we see those people and stuff, but it blows my mind.
I know, I agree. It reminds me of what we were saying with 6'7" Kevin when he was on here talking about the death cults. Why would the drug dealers sell all this fentanyl that just kills their clientele?
Yeah,
they actually, the death is their reward, right? So I kind of want to apply that to a lot of these other bigger companies, Big Pharma, Big Cloud, whatever, you know. They say it's for good. We're going to put the drug cartels aside. A lot of these companies say this is for good. We're going to help you. We're going to save you. But it always turns out to be bad for you. And then years later, we're having all these congressional hearings about what the vaccines were doing with warp speed. It's crazy. It's crazy how underreported that is and what they've been saying in there. But, you know, it's like that's what happens. They always say something's safe and effective. This is good for you. And then they turn around and say, oh, sorry, it's actually killing you. So the why, you know, when it comes to someone like the Cloud Man with Augustus, he says it's to help the farmers. You know, it's this technology that he's inherited that happened in war with Vietnam, with Operation Popeye. Now he can apply it to help the farmers during droughts. But, you know, as I've said many times, the real goal, as he said himself on Sean Ryan's podcast the first time, is to help make fake rain to fill the data centers that will be overtaking our planet. Like, there's so much farmland that's been given to the data centers. They're popping up everywhere. Idaho, Oregon, Texas, they're in Virginia. I mean, they're everywhere, but major, giant ones. I think there's one in Wisconsin. Was it? I had it pulled up earlier. That's for another day. I'll get into that one. But giant data centers. So when it comes to him, I think his why is to become a weather system in a future that is controlled by data centers. Does that make sense?
So just reckless profitability.
I don't know if they believe it. I don't know if they believe it's reckless. I think they have it under control.
By definition, I would call it reckless. But I'm with Shane on this. I don't think they know or care.
Right.
Yeah. Who was the dude you guys played last night from the government that made some announcement about how they care about it now? They're going to tell us everything.
Yeah, Lee Zeldin.
It was the EPA.
Yeah, that was like car salesman right there.
Yeah.
No, there's no way. Like, I know people say like, or I think he even said, he's like, you know, some of it we've been told is private, and this, it's like, no. Two observations. One, these jets, I've seen this myself, especially in California, because they do it on the coast because it works with the moisture that comes off the ocean, and it's most effective when it carries over. And then they use it with the HARP stuff and everything else to make the 800-year floods and the hurricanes and all the stuff we see now.
Yep.
But the observations I've seen are these jets are like, they're up there, man. They're above commercial airliners. They're like 80,000, 100,000 feet up. They're these giant white military jets, and you'll watch them start spraying a line, and I've done this with my wife. Like, I'm like, hey, do you see that one right now? She's like, yep. And then you'll see whatever, a horizontal line, and there's a vertical line going towards the horizontal line. As soon as that plane crosses that line, the jets turn off, and then they turn on again as soon as they cross the other line. So I don't even think there's necessarily pilots. Like, you know, look at drone tech, look at 9/11, everything. It's like this is probably very automated. It's all gridded out and automated. My point is it's very government. It's not, sure, it's private. I'm sure there's like Lockheed Martin or whoever else doing this, but it's government. So they're BSing us when they're telling us like, oh, we're looking into it and we're going to find out something. It's like, no, this has been going on for a long time. It's very organized.
100%, dude. And I will say, Augustus, Rainmaker CEO, he would say he's not geoengineering. He would say he's just cloud seeding. I think cloud seeding is under the umbrella of geoengineering, but where he and I did agree was that geoengineering would be the ScopeX stuff with the blocking the sun, something Bill Gates would do, which he did say he disagreed with, and I appreciate that. But I do see them all as this under the same umbrella. You know, we're messing with the sky. We're trying to control the sky. But yeah, I think there's just multiple whys. There's some people out there who say they're dumping chemicals on us. They're dumping SSRIs on us. You know, it gets really crazy. Although I think some of it might be true because we can look in history at when certain governments were looking at how to aerosolize vaccines and how to dump them on people in remote locations. So, you know, if you know something like that.
And crazy stuff like that. But no, it's directly related as well to EMF, electromagnetic frequencies. That's a huge thing. Next time I call in, I'll talk about EMF and how it's tied in. But they're spraying metals, and next time I call in, I'll talk about that.
Please.
But thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course, man.
Thanks.
Pleasure to hear from you again. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
All right. He did remind me. I just earlier today saw a video. I was watching a video from CNBC. The title is "We Saw a New AI-Piloted Fighter Drone About to Transform Warfare." You guys can look that up. We won't pull it up today, but these are giant crafts.
There's a lot of crazy shit going on.
Just all alone up there.
So we also had, and we'll try to touch on this for a second because I do want to get to another caller. But we also there was news of space debris on fire.
Oh yeah. You try to Google that and show it's a short video in Australia.
I don't want to spend too much time on this. I feel like we could spend more time on it next week.
Yeah, we talked about it last night, but I got home last night from the show, and I look at Twitter real quick, and there's a video, I think it's real, of space junk burning on the road in Australia.
Yeah, likely fell from space. Yeah. Video shows suspected junk being found on a remote Australian road.
And then it grew tentacles.
Yeah. No, it didn't.
He said, "Yeah."
All right, let's have a peek at this here because this is what we're seeing.
I didn't even see this part. Cool. Yeah, in my expert opinion, that looks like space junk, not a piñata.
If you believe in that sort of thing.
Not a burnt piñata. That's space junk. Maybe that's that thing. What is that thing we talked about?
Now you see this shit. This came from us. That's ours.
As in America?
Dude, there's a coupling in there.
It's made of
I mean,
duct tape?
I don't mean ours necessarily. Like, hey, it belongs to our country.
Oh yeah.
But
actual man-made.
this came from humans. This isn't like, oh, hey, this is some cosmic shit. You know that.
No, I think that's what they're saying. Like this came off of like a satellite.
Atlas, you know, freaking 3i Atlas, whatever the hell you want to call it, decided to just drop on us while it's spewing water and particles and all kinds of, you know, whatever the hell, golden showers. I think we talked about all kinds of weird shit was coming out of this thing.
The probe has been.
Yeah.
Golden showering other probes. I can't help it, guys. That's the news. Those are their words. Those are their words.
Pro.
Let's try to do another caller.
Yeah, we can do that. All right. So.
Sorry to cut off your song there.
Wrong. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Beautiful song.
I was just rocking for a second.
This is how he gets the ladies, guys.
It is not.
Songs like that.
It is not how I get the ladies. We are going to go to. All right. So. You guys totally flooded the room tonight, which is awesome. We love you for it. I'm going to try to get everybody's name written down because obviously we won't have time to get to all of you here. But I want to go back. I'm checking my list here, and I got a couple people in here that were on that list we weren't able to get to this week. So I want to try to give them their time. We're going to start with Derek, and if we can get to anybody else, we will.
And Ganja Cat, I see you out there. You want to talk about chemtrails. Please call in next week. We would love to hear you talk about it.
Derek, welcome to the show.
Oh, is it working this time?
Yes.
Oh, thank God.
Awesome.
How are you guys tonight?
Good. What's going on tonight, man?
So the other night when I had called, I just want to touch back on the who was it? There was a couple of names that I couldn't remember.
Mm-hmm.
It was Paul Cook was one of them. The year of Nikola Tesla researches, writings, and articles. It was a book from 1894. And the
his
first
book?
edition isn't going for $1 million. It's going for $2 million.
Okay.
So they raised the price.
Wow.
Oh, it went up like
Yeah.
the housing market did, about 50%
Oh, I guess
increase
so.
there, huh?
Seriously.
Dude, it's ridiculous. So whatever, and when who was the guy? I came in a little bit late. Who was the gentleman that was in earlier?
The guy who was talking about the like the Federal Reserve. That's Paul Stone.
Paul Stone. Okay. Paul Stone. Yeah, no, definitely a smart guy, that's for sure. Yeah, although Nikola Tesla didn't invent alternating current. They couldn't use it.
Right.
He created the first
it was like
motor.
how to use it, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we knew about it. We knew it was there, but I mean, nobody could really. They couldn't work with it.
And they certainly had some propaganda against him at the time.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I mean, everybody was on board with him up until they figured out. Well, I mean, he could have Westinghouse when he was being backed by him. I mean, he could have bankrupted the entire company, and he didn't. I mean, he was too good of a guy. He's like, because I forget how many cents he would get per horsepower.
Right.
Generated, but overnight that company would have been his, and he's like, don't worry about it.
I know.
It's all
He's so
good.
fascinating. That's someone I would
then,
wish I could talk to. Like if I could interview someone from the past, it would be he's one of them.
Tesla, he was beyond his. I mean, if we're talking about aliens and everything, he definitely.
He was talking to him.
He's
He
not
said.
from this earth or an angel or something.
Yep. Yep. He said he was talking to something.
Yep. I dropped a few links for you too, Shane. On X.
Okay.
Some videos for like the geoplasmal or whatever it is.
In a comment or DM?
No, it was a direct message.
Okay.
So I'm sure you get flooded with those, but it's the handle is it's Gage. So
say it again. Sorry.
Gage,
Okay.
Gage. So yep, but yeah. That's basically it. You guys got a bunch of callers, so another time.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And
yeah, no
I'll look for
problem.
those messages. And until next time.
Yeah, definitely start a dating page for Brandon.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
He's good to go.
Here we go.
Oh, let the games begin, my friend.
That's it.
Thanks, Derek.
man.
All right. Hey, have
Bye.
a great weekend, guys.
You
You
too.
too. Oh, shit. She lit a fire with this. They're having a field day in chat with it a little while ago.
Good.
That's totally going to spark it back.
Good. I think it'll be fun. Like, once a month or something, we do like a dating show.
Yeah, just whore me out, It's we're not
great.
about that on this show or anything.
No, I want to see a family. I want to see you guys start a family with whatever nice young woman we find here.
But then I have to have values and things
Yep,
like that.
yep. Well,
I mean,
start working on it now. Working on it right now. So this woman will see it and be like, that's what.
365 days following, I walk in here looking exactly like Shane.
You don't want that.
I'd have to get the bigger frames in my glasses, though. I need to round them out.
These are small. I used
And
to
then
have
people can really talk shit about us being clones.
I used to have much bigger ones, and I broke those. Let's try to get one more call.
You wanna do one more?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right.
Thank you guys for sticking around and being in the room waiting to talk. And I hope those we don't get to, we get to you on Monday, or Tuesday, or Wednesday, or Thursday next week.
Yeah, the list is massive, but I'm trying to actively knock it out. So we'll just keep dancing around.
Sweet.
And new callers always welcome too. We will try to get you on. If I recognize that I've never seen you before, usually I try to bring you on. But a lot of you guys used to pull the wools over my eyes and just change your name and be the same guy again. So don't do that. We're gonna go to Hugh John Le Champatit.
Ooh, wow.
Because he was the other one that we weren't able to get to this week. So, Hugh John, when you get a
What's
chance,
happening, fellas?
What's up, man? How are you?
kill that stream in the background for us if you could.
Yep, I just paused it.
What's going on, man?
Better?
Yep.
So, I don't know if you remember me calling before, but there's a thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about, but I needed to make sure my wife was cool with it because it's her uncle.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
He was a serial killer. Just died in 2023 of terminal lung cancer.
Whoa.
And in prison. So they caught him.
Are you able to say who?
Yes, she is comfortable with me saying his name. It was Gary Artman.
Gary Arkman.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us more.
So, well, the part I wanted to talk about had less to do with him and more to do with something he told me in 2004.
Okay.
We were at a family, I don't remember if it was my father-in-law's birthday or whatever it was, but we were at a family outing. He and I were both pretty tipsy. And he started sharing some really weird shit with me. Ultimately, have you ever seen the television show The Following?
No.
I remember
I know about that
show, yeah.
I know about that
Okay.
one. I have not seen it though.
So there was a part near the end of the series, if I'm remembering it correctly, where they alluded to a cabal of sorts of elites that helped and protected serial killers.
Whoa.
And he's telling me about this
Whoa.
in 2004,
Oh man.
several years before the TV show came out. I
believe
thought it
that.
was just some dude telling me drunken bullshit, so I pretty much didn't think anything about it. Wow. And then the television show came out, and then several years later, he got arrested for being, I believe the name was the Grand Rapids serial killer, or Grand Rapids strangler, I think it was. I'm not positive on that, but
Okay.
there was one woman in Maryland and at least 10 in the Michigan area. They think up to 17 in the time frame that he was active. And there's possibly many more that my grandfather-in-law was involved with.
What do you mean?
As in, he was taught how to do this.
Like a Dexter?
Kind of.
So
Like the
wait.
new Dexter.
So wait,
Yeah.
there's someone in your side of the family that was doing this, and there's someone on your wife's side of the family?
No. This was on my wife's side. So
Oh, okay.
her grandfather, suffice it to say, my father-in-law's family is really messed up, and they've got some dark things. And that's as much as she's comfortable with me saying.
Okay, I get it.
So I'm gonna leave it there. But
That's the thing about a network of people protecting serial killers. I think there's something to that. And for one, I had someone on this show a few months back, maybe longer, a year now, who talked about how serial killers are kind of allowed to do their thing, and the government might know, but they're used. And they had a whole theory about that. And
that's
you can
pretty
see,
much what Gary was telling me
okay.
around the campfire. Like,
Yeah. That's crazy, but there's connections between a lot of serial killers and the government. Ted Bundy's a pretty good example of how someone could be in the government and serial killing. But the other thing was, no, go on. Man, exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Exactly. Although not as technically a serial killer, right? But like a ringleader of death.
Yeah.
But he might have killed. Just not like the Tate ones. Maybe not. I mean, who knows, really?
Right.
But when I was doing the reporting on the Long Island serial killer, one of my conclusions was like it felt like he was being protected by something, because he was operating for like 3 decades, and no one knew who this was. And eventually, years after I was done writing about it, they caught who they think it is. He's in jail right now, although hasn't had hasn't had a trial yet, but he's been in jail for like 2 years, and he turned out
now
to be.
Is he sick? Or anything like that?
So, I mean, if he's a murderer, he's sick in the way what he fantasizes about. And
I'm talking physically, because Gary wasn't caught until he was caught through familial DNA. And that's all we were told. Mm-hmm. But he was also caught after he was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Oh, okay. So I don't think this guy's sick, but they caught him the same way with DNA. And he's huge. He's like 6'8", and he's like 300 pounds.
damn.
And
That's a big dude.
He's huge. And I've seen him. I went to go see. I didn't talk to him, but I went to see him before the judge when he got arraigned. He's enormous, and he was like, he is or was, I guess, a well-known architect. Like this is a wealthy dude in Long Island, and so that was one of my theories that he was going to be someone like a Ted Bundy who was able to hide really well in a higher portion of society. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Gary was a truck driver. Wow. And he wasn't as big as what you're describing. He was over 6 foot, but under 6'5". But he was just like farm boy big. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. That's crazy, man. I'm looking at one of the articles now. I mean, it looks like CBS even had it says convicted murderer Gary Artman interviewed on his deathbed.
Yes. And it was actually after he slipped into a coma, he came out of the coma before he died, that he then confessed to, I believe, 11 murders.
Man.
Yeah. And they were, my wife is yelling at me, telling me it was different. What's that?
Uh-oh. That's what you have to look forward to.
She corrected me. 17.
Oh, my goodness.
That he admitted to.
Okay. Damn. Even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, one is too much, but
many of them, they can't even find the bodies.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is a pattern with them. You know, and also they like to claim things that they didn't do. And that right there
and that's
also tells me.
Kind of what I was thinking too.
Yep.
However, the oddity is 2 of the females that he definitely murdered have a striking resemblance to my wife.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness gracious.
And one of them was the October after we got married in 96.
Oh my gosh.
And the other one was about a year and a half after I saw him, and he was telling me about this cabal of elites.
So that also makes me think about how when these certain serial killers will take they'll say they did certain killings that they didn't do, but it's like they know about other killers and how they and where they put people. That's always been weird to me because, you know, some of them end up talking to each other in prison and maybe that's how it happens. But I also think some of them actually know each other outside, you know?
Well, wasn't and correct me if I'm wrong, but the entire, what's that TV show, the Criminal Minds show? That division of the FBI was created by studying serial killers because they can recognize each other.
Yes. Well, was it Criminal Minds or was it the what the heck was that? David Fincher did it, right?
Oh God,
I'm thinking of that one because that one's really, really good. Mindhunter.
Yes, Mindhunter. That one was really good.
Great, and they talked to.
I think they're coming up with another season of that one too.
I hope so. They talked to Ed Kemper in that, like, you know, real serial killer, and you can go listen to the actual tapes of Ed Kemper on YouTube. He actually did a pretty good job of being Ed Kemper, the actor. But my only problem is he tried being too dark. Ed Kemper was like terrifyingly sweet. And
I'm
like,
trying to think which guy was. I know the name.
He was
Ed
the
Kemper,
same
but
actor.
Which one is he?
Oh, Ed Kemper's the guy who it's midnight now, so I'm just gonna get real dark real quick. Sorry everybody, but he's the one who decapitated his mother and then had sexual relations with the head.
Yeah, that's some weird shit.
And then he put it in the trunk, you know, and he felt like that was what cured him of his need to kill. And he went and he had friends in the police, and he went and took a drive and called them. And the police, when he confessed to the police, they thought, oh, Ed is pranking us. He was like, no, I did it. And he'd done this a bunch of times.
Wow.
Horrible. But like,
how many close calls were there with Dahmer?
Dahmer, yeah. I mean,
at least 3 that I can remember of the police coming to his apartment.
Yeah.
And you know, hey, dude, we heard there were some screams, and he's got a disarticulated body laying in his bathtub.
Dude, it's crazy. There are for real monsters out there.
Oh yeah.
And you know, I've for whatever reason been fascinated with what these people do. You know, and that's why I was interested in the Long Island guy. You know, and like in Long Island, there's just for whatever reason a high concentration of serial killers, and. And it's terrifying what they've done. but it's obviously happening all around the place. And man, that is crazy. I thank you for calling in and sharing that disturbing fact.
Yeah,
and, my goodness. And you said you were married in October? You were married in October?
No, my wife and I were married in April.
Okay.
And within 6 months, there was a woman who went missing from New Mexico.
Gotcha.
Who looks like, at the time, a dark-haired rendition of my wife.
My goodness.
At that age, because we got married, she was really young, and so was I.
Mm-hmm.
I was just 22, and she was just 19.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well,
and
holy moly.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say there. That is
same.
It is insane. But I appreciate you sharing that with us. And
absolutely. Thanks for taking the call. I appreciate it.
Yeah. My best to you guys.
Thanks. And
man.
to you as well, both of you. And hey, pretty boy, dial up once in a while.
Yeah,
Let them swoon.
I hear you, bro. I'm gonna come in all decked out one of these days just for you. I promise.
We'll never recognize you again.
That's awesome. That's great. Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Yep. Have a great weekend, guys.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Amazing. That was a fun show. This has been a great week. Really appreciate you guys out there hanging out, calling in. Brandon, where can they find you? If they want to marry you.
Oh shit. Hang on, I like doing this. You can find me at Brando Inverted on Insta and on X. Thanks again to all of our callers this whole week. We've had a round of awesome shows. Me and Shade have been blown away every night by how good the shows have been this week. So we appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share the show with everybody that you know. Keep us growing. We will see you back here next Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern for more madness and weirdness. Again, we love you guys. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and stay weird. We'll catch you next week. Shane.
Thank you guys again for being here. Thank you so much for calling in, liking, sharing, subscribing. This show is all the better with you guys. You've helped build this show into something I did not imagine. And we have Brandon is over there steering a much bigger ship because of you guys. So thank you so much for that and for cracking us up in the chat. And I hope you all have a safe weekend. And we'll see you on Monday. Until then.